Good evening, everyone. I'm Tracy Glab, Executive Director of the Flint Institute of Arts Museum and Art School, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to this evening's KOMMAREDDI Family Lecture. Tonight, we have Dr. Usha Balakrishnan presenting Adorning the Self, Symbolism and Personal Identity. The KOMMAREDDI Family Lecture Series started back in 2022, so this is the 5th lecture. It focuses on topics related to the art, history, and culture of South Asia. It is sponsored by Usha R and Dr. Prasad KOMMAREDDI. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you for your generous support. Tonight's lecture is followed by the grand opening, many of which all of you have already had a sneak peek, of Meditations in Gold, South Asian Jewelry, co-curated by Dr. Balakrishnan and FIA staff. The exhibition features 68 works drawn from private collections and the FIA collection. Thank you, Jay and Prasad, for donating many of these works, and thank you to the lenders as well. The exhibition is truly magnificent, the first of its kind at the FIA, and we're proud to have it here in Flint. And yes, that's applause-worthy. And thanks to the KOMMAREDDIs, there will be a light reception following tonight's lecture. The next KOMMAREDDI Family Lecture will be part of the FIA's first ever Splendors of South Asia celebration, scheduled for Saturday, October 19th, so put it on your calendars. The event celebrates art, history, and culture of South Asia and aims to further the FIA's mission of connecting diverse communities through fun, inspiring, and creative visual arts experiences. The evening will start with a KOMMAREDDI Family Lecture, which is free and open to the public. It will be followed by a ticketed event that includes cocktails in the galleries and an intimate dinner in Isabel Hall. Proceeds from the celebration will support education programs and expand the FIA's South Asian art collection. Sponsorship packets are available at the front desk. There's still time to get in on this cannot miss event. Now, before I introduce our guests, I would like to thank the Charles Stewart Mott Foundation for their continued support, which is so deeply appreciated and vital to the FIA. I would like to thank the citizens of Genesee County for demonstrating their support of the FIA by means of the Genesee County Arts Education and Cultural Enrichment Millage, which also provides free entry to the FIA for Genesee County citizens 7 days a week. Thank you. And a big thank you to Huntington Bank for sponsoring Huntington Free Saturdays, which allows everyone beyond our county free entry on Saturdays. So if you're not a lucky Genesee County resident, you can come on Saturdays. Thank you to the Ford Foundation Equity Fund of the Community Foundation of Greater Flint for making the ASL interpretation possible tonight. Now let's please take a moment to silence your cell phones. And I should mention the exhibition that opens tonight is on view through February 25th, so please let people know it's really going to be a great exhibition and can't miss. Dr. Usha Balakrishnan is a cultural capital consultant and a highly regarded scholar of Indian art and culture. As a preeminent historian of Indian jewelry, she has been the former Indian representative for Sotheby's, served on the expert committee of the Kerala Museum, and has worked for the Brooklyn Museum, where she pioneered and steered the museum's Mughal jewelry project. She is presently chief curator of the World Diamond Museum. That sounds like an amazing museum. Dr. Balakrishnan is a prolific author, and her work with museums has led her to curate key projects at Indian and international museums. Now, Flint, Michigan, too. You can add that to your resume. Not that you need it or anything. But she's contributed several essays to several museum colleagues. We're very privileged and lucky to have her here with us tonight. She came all the way from India, and I had lunch with her yesterday and you're in for a treat. That's all I can say. So everyone, please join me in a warm Flint welcome for Dr. Usha Balakrishnan.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for turning out in such large numbers this evening. The exhibition is a treat. Please don't miss it. Come and see it again and again. It's on till February, as Tracy mentioned. My first thanks is, of course, to Jayashree and Dr. Prasad for making this evening possible. But it's actually been discussions over the last 4 or 5 years, and to see our discussions coming to fruition gives one immense amount of satisfaction. Thank you to Flint Museum, Flint Institute of Arts, the curatorial staff with whom I've been working through emails, but it's great to be here and meet everybody here in person, to meet everyone in person. To all of you men in the audience, in case you think you've been dragged here to listen to a lecture on jewelry, is that going to lead you to the jewelry stores tomorrow? Rest assured, because this is all about Indian jewelry. The most fabulous pieces of jewelry were worn by men in India, yes, the gods and the Maharajas. All our designers, all our craftsmen were men and are still primarily men who manufacture all the jewelry. Every single piece of jewelry in the exhibition has been manufactured by a craftsman, handcrafted. And even today, amongst the pastoral communities in India, all the men wear at least one piece of jewelry. So welcome to all of you men. I hope you enjoy the lecture. So the title for my talk this evening is Adorning the Self, Symbolism and Personal Identity. Just to give you a little bit of a background, my interest and fascination with Indian jewelry goes far beyond the immediacy of form, or even of design, material, and the intrinsic value of the piece of jewelry. As a historian, I study jewelry from a multidisciplinary perspective. As an anthropologist and as an artist, I attempt to view these beautiful objects from the perspective of the people who wore them, the goldsmiths and silversmiths who made them, and the meanings that are embedded in material and form. I investigate the historical and cultural influences that contributed to their creation and decipher a tradition of adornment and the language of ornament that dates back more than 5,000 years in India. Through the centuries, unfortunately, little Indian jewelry has survived. From one generation to another, ornaments have been broken up, the gold and silver melted down, gemstones recycled into new settings, thereby erasing beautiful old designs and forms. So the exhibition next door, Meditations in Gold, is a celebration of jewels that have survived the melting pot. It shows the vision and passion of a collector, Jayashree and the other lenders to the exhibition, who have committed themselves to preserving traditional jewels, and ultimately to the Flint Museum for sharing them with a larger audience. So this evening, drawing upon some of the items in the exhibition and jewels from museums and private collections around the world, I hope to take you on a journey into the deeper essence of Indian jewels. So these are maps on the screen in front of you. On the left is a modern political map of India showing the 28 states and 8 union territories that comprise the Union of India today. However, this was not the map of India even 100 years ago. The subcontinent was divided into more than 600 native states. There were British presidencies, there were French, Portuguese, and Dutch colonies. There were countless principalities known as zamindaris, as seen in the map on the right. Boundaries were fluid, and they kept expanding and contracting with wars, treaties, marriage alliances, and so on. However, across this vast expanse that is called the Indian subcontinent, there was and still is a tradition of adornment and ornament. Designs and forms traveled from one area to another. Jewels were bought and sold. They were exchanged or recycled, resulting in a dispersal of designs across vast geographical and political boundaries. This exhibition is titled Meditations in Gold, so I will start with a short recording. It is a chant to creation. The media, please. So that was the Hiranyagarbha Sukta. It's a hymn from the Rig Veda, the oldest religious text in the world. It speaks of the creation of the entire universe from the Hiranyagarbha, a golden egg, descriptions of this golden egg, the golden embryo that was floating in the dark void of space. The creation hymn further pronounces that this golden egg burst open into two parts. One was silver and the other part was gold. That which was of silver is this earth. That which was of gold is the sky. Gold, therefore, represents the light of the sun and the power of fire. In India, gold is equivalent to prana, the vital breath, and therefore it is synonymous with life. Gold is endowed with the properties of tejas or energy, varchas or brilliance, and satyam or truth. And the metal is regarded as exceeding all others in purity and perfection. Silver, on the other hand, was a symbol of the moon and of the earth. So the two metals together constituted the entire cosmos. The jewels on the screen on the left side are known as Ayigalu, or the Shivadhara. It is a casket that compellingly illustrates the kaleidoscopic character of jewelry. Visually, the pieces on the left are striking objects. The one on top divides into two halves, and there is a miniature bull, you can see it right on top, the Nandi, the mount of Lord Shiva. The piece is fashioned from rock crystal and decorated with rubies and emeralds, all set in gold. The casket below, in contrast, is strikingly simple. It is fashioned from silver with finely worked gold fittings. Visually, both are beautiful objects, but it is the form of the jewel and what lies hidden inside that hollow casket that has a deep cultural meaning. The egg-shaped Ayigalu is a metaphor for Hiranyagarbha, the golden egg that we saw in the previous slide. Inside that casket is placed a lingam, and you can see it in the center of the screen, which is a solid ovoid stone. It is an aniconic representation of Shiva. The jewel is worn as a pendant. It is exclusive to the members of the Lingayat community, a Shaiva religious sect who reside mostly in Karnataka, in South India. The Ayigalu is a symbol of their caste and faith. The lingam and casket are ceremonially given to a Lingayat child in an initiation ceremony, marking his or her entry into the community and is worshipped every day. And significantly, when the Lingayat dies, that casket with the lingam inside it is buried with him or her. Thus, For us today, while it looks like a beautiful piece of jewelry, the one on top actually was sold at auction recently, it ceases to be just a piece of adornment for the people to whom it belongs. So as I said earlier, gold is a symbol of Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth and of the sun. Gold is a noble metal and considered ritually pure. A piece of gold on the skin was believed to grant longevity and facilitate the flow of breath and energy through the body. Much of the jewels, however, of the pastoral people of India is fashioned from silver. Silver, because of its powerful ability as a conductor of heat and cold, the metal protected the body against infections and healed wounds for this nomadic community that was constantly on the move. But both gold and silver are extremely versatile materials. They are malleable and ductile, and small amounts could be worked with great versatility. Importantly, as the two pieces of jewelry on the screen illustrate, they were instruments of wealth. They could be liquidated for cash in times of need. On the screen are two necklaces. The one on the left is in the exhibition, the one on the right of silver in a private collection. The one on the left is known as a Kashimale from South India, and the piece on the right is known as a Usha R, which also translates into Kashimale. Now, there was very little indigenous gold or silver in India, and the vast volume of India's robust trade with Africa, the Arab world, Rome, Persia, the Ottoman Empire, Europe, China, and Southeast Asia was conducted with silver and gold coins. While the use of coins in jewelry was an expression of lucre on the body, more importantly, the coin necklace is a pan-Indian jewel. In fact, it's probably the only one of this form that is a pan-Indian jewel. Such jewels incorporating coins point to the large area which the wearer was in contact with, the economic and political landscape of the region, and above all, of the prosperous trade networks. The gold necklace is strung with British Queen Victoria coins, probably collected over a long period of time and then strung into a necklace. It is today I understand, it's a mere quarter of the length that it originally was, broken up, as happens to so many of Indian jewels, for division of wealth within the family. But importantly, these kind of coin necklaces, especially the silver ones, were worn by the pastoral people, and when there was an illness in the family, or there was a marriage to be celebrated, or there was a drought, they could be easily redeemed for cash. They were given to the pawnbroker and loans were taken out against the number of coins and the weight of coins in the necklace. I want to share another little media clip with you all. The media, please. So this is a short clip of a scene from a temple festival in South India, and such festivals play out annually in the thousands of temples all around in India, but particularly in South India. The image that you saw in the previous slide is Shiva, the Lord of Dissolution. He was emerging from the sanctum sanctorum of the temple, bejeweled, attired in beautiful clothes, decorated with flowers, and seated in regal splendor, as you can see in the slide in front of you. Significantly, Shiva has assumed his earthly form and is now visible to his devotees. Shiva is in what we call full alamkara, or full adornment. Now, alamkara is the Sanskrit word for adornment. It is a term most commonly used in the context of poetry and writing to signify figures of speech, similes, and metaphors. But alamkara, in the context of adornment of the body, refers to jewels, cosmetics, flowers, clothing, And as you can see in the slide in front of you, even tattoos and henna. Just as beautiful words elevate poetry and prose, so too it is believed that adornment with jewelry enhances beauty, enables recognition, affords pleasure, and completes the persona. It is believed that devoid of ornamentation, the ultimate reality, that is God, is formless and invisible. But once adorned, as you can see on the right, with gold coverings and fabulous jewels, the deity becomes visible, assumes human form, and becomes a focal point for devotion. That is the reason why images in temples are decorated with the most fabulous gold fabrics, gold ornaments, and jewels set with precious gems. In fact, adornment is prescribed as a mandatory part of ritual in temples in India. Even in the context of bodily adornment, therefore, it is believed that a human form devoid of jewels and beautiful clothes is nirguna, is formless, invisible, has no characteristic. But once the human body is adorned with clothes and beautiful jewelry, the body becomes visible, it becomes saguna and assumes form. It becomes immediately recognizable. Now, ancient scriptures in India abound with descriptions of bejeweled gods and goddesses. The Devi Mahatmyam, which is a 5th century text devoted to Durga, the goddess, recites that eons ago there was a war between the gods and demigods. And the gods that you can see in this beautiful miniature painting, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, appealed to Durga, the goddess, to help them in destroying the Asura, Mahisha. They equipped the goddess with weapons, a trident, a conch, a spear. However, a perfect physical form just with weapons was not considered powerful enough. So Vishwakarma, the architect of the universe and a supreme patron of the arts, gave the goddess a crest jewel, earrings, bracelets, armlets, and necklaces. Thus adorned and empowered with jewels, the goddess manifested in the human form. She assumed human form and waged battle and destroyed the demon Mahishasura. Therefore, the instrumentality of jewelry in constructing the identity of gods and humans in Indian culture is fundamental to understanding the significance and importance of adornment. The act of adornment goes beyond just merely appending beautiful confections crafted from gold and silver to different parts of the body. The pluralism of jewelry, whether it was royal or tribal, gold or silver, small or large, is revealed, therefore, in the many layers of meanings and relations that it establishes. Now, sculptures through antiquity testify that while human figures might be devoid of clothing, they are almost never devoid of jewels. The image on the screen is the bronze girl from Mohenjo-daro. The Indus Valley civilization dates back 5,000 years. If you look closely at her, she's nude, but her left arm is stacked with bangles from the wrist to the shoulder. Her right wrist is adorned with bangles. An armband rests above her elbow, and she wears a necklace around her neck. Probably not unlike the two examples that you see on the right, that was discovered in the course of excavations in the very site where the figure was found. The beads were discovered. They are beautiful carnelian beads. Coming down to another period in history, this is the 1st century. The image on the left is a terracotta figurine from a site known as Chandraketugarh in Bengal. And look at the way that goddess, the Yakshi, who might be a tree spirit, is adorned, heavily adorned with jewelry, not unlike some of the jewels that you see on the right side, all the items of silver. Therefore, while items have not survived from that period, as a historian, I have to turn to sculptures like this to be able to reconstruct the story and the history and the chronology of Indian jewelry. Now, as a historian, you often wonder when you see all those fabulous jewels, whether they were actually real or imagined by the sculptor. And then suddenly a piece of jewelry turns up that we have a corroborative evidence in sculptures. The earrings that you see on the screen are royal earrings. They are in the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York. They are made from sheet gold and decorated with beautiful filigree and granulation work. A winged lion, an elephant, a vase containing 3 palmets, all worked on this pair of earrings. The earrings are immensely large and when worn would have hung down to the shoulder. And when you look at the image on the right side, the Yakshi from Bharut, dating to the first century, is wearing what appears to be an identical pair of earrings. And look down at the sandstone railing below and you will see a similar earring set into the middle of the necklace. So these kind of images, together with references in texts and the few examples that have survived, helps us to reconstruct the history of Indian jewelry. Fabulous jewels have been eternized in 19th century paintings and photographs. By the time we come to the 19th century, we have a greater amount of evidence and it all comes out in color now. In the center is a portrait painting of Sher Singh. He was the son of the last Maharaja of Punjab, Ranjit Singh. Look closely and he's draped with jewels from the Lahore treasury. And on round his right arm is the famous Kohinoor diamond. And you can see the amulet on the screen on the right. It doesn't exist in that form anymore because the diamond has been recut and set into the crown in England. And around his neck, he wears the Timur ruby, also now in the royal collection in England. And therefore, we have this corroborative evidence of the painting together with these surviving jewels. Jewelry and gems feature prominently in classical Indian literature through the ages. They served as important elements in the plot. Let's take the Ramayana, for example. Rama's signet ring, the ring that he wore on his finger, and Sita's head jewel, it was known as the Chudamani, play significant roles in the epic. Sita had never met Hanuman before. Hanuman is the monkey god who actually goes and finds her in Sri Lanka and rescues her. So Hanuman carries Rama's ring with him to Lanka to identify himself as Rama's messenger. How else would Sita then identify him? And you can see in this painting, Hanuman is dropping Rama's ring to Sita in this 18th century image. And in return, Hanuman brings Sita's head ornament back to Rama as proof as having met her, as proof of life almost. Similarly, in the other great epic, the Mahabharata, Yudhishthira's first loss in the gambling session with the Kauravas was actually a pearl. Therefore, jewels and gems functioned as objects not only of love and beauty, but they were powerful metaphors of power and adornment. Elaborate jewels and adornment are requisite to dance attire. The monumental headdress and pectoral jewels of Kathakali dancers, as you see on the left, the striking masks and jewels of Theyyam on the top right, an art form from Kerala, and the majestic hornbill feathers of the Konyak Nagas, the bottom right, add in no small measure to the commanding presence of the artist on stage. The author of the Natya Shastra, Bharata, a text that was written between the 3rd century BC and the 3rd century of the Common Era, states that adornment is integral to the success of a dramatic production, and ornaments lend beauty to the limbs. In fact, the text has an entire section devoted to the ornaments that had to be worn for performance on stage. So what I'm trying to establish here is that jewelry is not just about adornment. It's not just about ornament. How integral jewelry has been to so many different aspects of Indian cultural life, whether it is in the temples, on the human body, in sculpture, in paintings, even in the hymns and in the religious texts. Now, in ancient India, men used jewelry to exhibit power and status. To the Mughal emperors, jewels and gemstones formed the material wealth of their empire. Turban jewels, like the one on the screen, the one that Shah Jahan is holding, or the outstanding examples on the right, which is from the Nizam of Hyderabad collection, are set with an outstanding collection of table-cut Golconda diamonds. Such jewels were quintessential symbols of wealth and might. As per court traditions, in fact, loyalty to the emperor was expressed by offerings, nazrana, and much of these offerings took the form of gold coins, precious gemstones, and jewels. Gold and gems were very important. They were extremely portable. They could be equally liquidated into cash, and therefore they were used to fund wars. Gems and jewelry were used to purchase loyalty, and above all, to bribe the enemy. Extremely useful for that. So, hold on, I think I missed. Ornaments were among the. Just a second. So these are turban ornaments. They are, again, as per court traditions, the king had to be adorned with beautiful jewels. And this is an example, typical example, that you will see in the exhibition. Actually, three outstanding pieces of Indian jewelry. The one on the left, on the right, is known as a tura, derived from the Portuguese word turo, meaning a bouquet of flowers. And such jewels were tucked into the folds of the turban. Now, ornaments were also objects of seduction and allurement. In this beautiful painting of Radha and Krishna, Radha, if you look closely, is draped only in a sheer dupatta, but is adorned with all her jewels. And Jayadeva, the famous poet in the Gita Govinda, you can see what he has written. She is richly arrayed in ornaments for the battle of love. Her necklaces tremble in full hard dress, quivering earrings graze her cheeks, her belt sounds with hips rolling motion. So says the poet. Now, among the pastoral and tribal population of India, jewelry served many functions. It was saturated with meanings. The teeth of animals, the claws of tigers, as you can see on the necklace at the bottom, horns, tusks, feathers, and even the hair of animals were worn as ornaments. For example, elephant hair was worn as an ornament, perhaps motivated by the metempsychic, that is the rebirth of the soul after death, the belief in the rebirth of the soul after death, and that the creature's courage, whether it was a tiger, an elephant, or a snake, the creature's courage, fierceness, and power would pass to the wearer, therefore projecting man's primacy over the animal. Nature provided an unending supply of raw materials to the Indian jeweler. Dried fruits and seeds were transformed into beads, brightly colored feathers of birds, iridescent wings of insects, seeds that provided nourishment. They were all either incorporated in their actual organic form or stylized into gold and silver and converted into jewelry. Birds, parrots, peacocks, as you can see in the earrings in the top and bottom right, and the hair ornaments on the left, all take up residence in jewelry. Elephant hair, as I said, ivory, boar tusk, all of this metamorphosed into jewelry and formed a part of the language of adornment. However, jewels were not merely objects of femininity, sexual allurement, and statements of style. Jewels dispelled anonymity all over India. They proclaim caste. Jewels are region specific, they are caste specific, They proclaim the religion of the wearer as well as the ethnic identity of the wearer. They also unequivocally communicate an individual's region of origin, from which part of the country he or she is. For example, on the screen in front of you are these two necklaces that belong to the pastoral communities. The massive silver Wadlo toques are worn by Rabari and Fakirani Jat women in Gujarat and Rajasthan. They act as identifiers among people within that region. On the screen are two beautiful examples, one of which is in the exhibition, the one on the right. Both are in the exhibition, actually. On the left is a jewel called the Gutta Pusal, or the Gutta Pusalu, which is a necklace. It translates into a cluster of pearls, a bunch of pearls. The necklace is set with rubies, diamonds, emeralds, and Basra pearls. The reference here is to the seed pearls that hang in bunches from each pendant element. The luxurious jewel is unique to the South Indian states of Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. And on the right is the Vajrati Tushi. The necklace is made up of a series of zigzag elements, and when you see it in the exhibition, please look at the minute detail that is worked into both of these necklaces. In fact, the term Tushi is a Marathi term, and although it refers generally today to a gold necklace, the term also means threshed wheat of corn. So when you look closely at the design on the necklace, it seems to have been inspired by a millet plant that we call jowar, which grows in abundance in that region. So it's almost like the craftsman was paying homage to the crop that was his sustenance, that was giving him his wealth, his prosperity, that was putting food into his stomach. So a lot of these Indian jewelry forms have these terms that are derived from nature, the part of the body in which they were to be used, what was the source of design inspiration. So as I was talking to somebody earlier, if only these jewels could talk, what stories they could tell, you know. Not to be left out, similarly, male members also can be recognized by the single horseshoe-shaped Bavaria earring that you can see on the top. These were worn, and even today are worn exclusively by the Jat and Rabari and Banjara men in Gujarat and Rajasthan. And the piece at the bottom is called the gokru. It's actually a very thorny seed that is found in the desert, but has a lot of medicinal properties. Here stylized and converted into earrings and worn primarily by men across a large area that covers the nomadic travels of these pastoral communities. Two other pieces that are in the exhibition, the ones on the bottom left, is the Pambadam and Thunder Tea. These are actually jewels of extremely stunning abstraction and among the most enigmatic jewels of India. Both types are unique again to a particular agricultural community in South India known as the Vellalars. In the earrings, spheres, pyramids, cuboids are juxtaposed in a brilliant grouping of forms, while the piece on the far left is known as the Pambadam, has a minuscule image of a cobra. You can see very clearly the pointed tapering hood when you look at the jewel in the exhibition. While the origin and antiquity of these forms is not known, local beliefs attribute the Pambadam, the snake earrings, to a stylized version of snake earrings that was worn by Lord Shiva when he danced the cosmic dance, the Tandava, which is the cosmic dance of creation. While the provenance of such designs is not known, the earlobe was a vital acupressure point connected to a woman's uterus. And it is believed by old women in that region that the earring actually prepared a woman for childbirth and easy delivery. Therefore, it's very common in that region around Madurai. Be that as it may, They are timeless in their elegance and laden with infinite symbolism. On the right side at the bottom, the earrings are in the form of large rings joined with faceted beads. They are known as Meka Mothanam. Again, particular and specific and worn only by Syrian Christian women in Kerala. You'll never have, it happens today, but amongst the traditional communities in India, they became very, very community and people-specific ornament forms. So one would not be worn by the other. This is a magnificent necklace. Ornaments are quintessential symbols of a woman's marriage status, and you will see some very, very elegant marriage jewels. They're known as thalis in South India in the exhibition. Necklaces, nose ornaments, and bangles all proclaim the marriage status of a woman in different parts of India. The marriage necklace is one of the most important rite of passage rituals. This example is from a region known as Chettinad in South India, and you can see the photograph on the left, on the right, where the woman is wearing an identical piece of jewelry. The origin of the necklace, the elaborate form, the elaborate pendants, again, is shrouded in mystery. But it is believed that they were once a seafaring community, and probably the claw-like pendants are stylized versions of shells or crab claws that they were actually, they might have worn at that time when they were not as affluent as they are today. This one is a Gauri Shankram in the exhibition. Again, a massive and impressive jewel. So while the one that you saw previously, the Kalitir, is worn only by women, this is a prerogative of male members of the Chettiar community. The necklace is massive. It has an entire mythology that is represented in repoussé in the pendant. And the amulet box at the bottom actually houses what is known as a Rudraksha bead. That is, you can see an example. It is a twin Rudraksha bead. It is a seed from a plant known as the Eleucarpus ganitris. It grows only in the Himalayas with a lot of medicinal properties, very good for blood pressure. Here, the twin Rudraksha symbolizes, it's a yin-yang, a union of Shiva and Parvati, and therefore considered to be an extremely powerful jewel and worn only by men. This piece is in the exhibition. It is known as the Erukkampu Thali. Again, particular and specific to the Namboothiri community in Kerala. The Namboothris are the priests who conduct the temple rituals. The necklace is composed of 21 flower-shaped pendants modeled on the Erukkampu. Pu means flower, and this is the crown flower. It is a plant which has manifold medicinal properties and used extensively in Ayurvedic, in the preparation of Ayurvedic concoctions in South India, believed to be very effective in the treatment of gastrointestinal disorders, neurological disorders, and so on. So it is commonly believed that when worn, a necklace such as this that replicates this form from nature, all the beneficial properties of the plant actually pass to the wearer. The necklace on the left is the Manga Male in the exhibition, and on the right is the Mulle Muttu Male. The Manga Male, manga means mango, so a necklace made up a garland of mango pendants. And on the right side is the Mulle Muttu Male. Mulle is the buds of the jasmine flower. So again, the Indian craftsman drew so extensively from nature and the beauty that he saw that surrounded him for sources of design inspiration. The Manga Mala, in fact, is set with one of the most beautiful collections of Burmese rubies. Rubies from Burma flowed into India via the trade in that particular region. They were sold in the gem bazaars of South India primarily. And diamonds are indigenous to India, and emeralds that came in from Colombia and South America. Ornaments enhance fertility. They protected against the unsettling effects of the planets, and they served as talismans against the all-pervading evil eye. the form of the jewel, its construction, the motifs or gems that decorate the surface, all combine to unleash the powers that are deeply embedded within material, form, and the design. So these are some examples of very powerful amuletic pendants that are worn primarily by pastoral communities in South India, in all over India, both in Rajasthan, Gujarat, and South India. Now, Indian mythology states that gemstones came forth from the dismembered body of a demon known as Bala, who offered himself as a sacrifice to Indra, the gods. When his body was dismembered, his teeth were transformed into pearls, his bones into diamonds, his eyes into sapphires, his blood into rubies, and his bile into emeralds. And these 5 gemstones are in fact known as the Maharatnas, or the great gems of Indian jewelry. Now, the planetary bodies are believed to have usurped these gems for themselves. So if a necklace that is made or set with these 9 planetary gemstones looks colorful and attractive, as you can see in the 2 examples on the screen, but when they are arranged in a certain format with the ruby symbolizing the sun in the middle, the jewel becomes a cogent entity, harnessing the energies of the cosmos and drawing the energies into the individual of the entire cosmos, the entire planetary system. The one on the necklace on the left, you can see, has the ruby in the center, symbol of the sun. However, the example on the right, also set with the Navaratnas, the 9 gemstone, here has the emerald as the center. This pendant belonged to Tipu Sultan, the Muslim ruler of Mysore. And in Islamic tradition, the color green and the emerald symbolized paradise. So over here, the red of the sun is substituted for the green of paradise and becomes the centerpiece of the jewel. Now, for those of us who are skeptical, such assignments were not just metaphorical, but physiological as well, expounded in India in a branch of traditional medicine known as Marma Shastra. The science of Marma maintains that there are vital points. They are kind of energy points that are located in different parts of the body through which vital energy flows. Gentle pressure and stimulation of these points enhances fertility, releases energy, and contributes to emotional and well-being. And these also are the important acupuncture and acupressure points that are today so popular all around the world. So by placing a piece of jewel on that particular point, it is constantly in a state of stimulation, allowing for the flow of that energy. Therefore, both men and women wore earrings, piercing the earlobe and suspending ornaments from the entire ear, the scapha, the helix, the outer rim of the auricle, all the parts of the ear was believed to open the mind to learning, broaden the intellect, and particularly for women, enhance fertility. In fact, all over India, at least amongst the rural communities, the ears of a boy child is pierced when that boy child is the age of 3 or 5, because it marks the opening up of the intellect and initiates the child into learning. That's when formal learning commences. So heavy torque necklaces, like the examples on the left side, rested on the collarbone, and you will see these beautiful torque necklaces in the exhibition. It was believed to rest exactly where the thyroid gland is located in the neck. So again, the belief Hansuli, in fact, is a reference to the collarbone, and it keeps the thyroid constantly stimulated. Cuff bracelets, like the one you see in the middle, served a similar purpose, functioning as a brace to support the arm, and the coil body of a snake was not only a fertility amulet, but activated energy points that enhanced fertility as well as sexuality. Anklets and toe rings on the right side provided acupressure that relieved leg pain, particularly beneficial to nomads and peasants as they walked long distances or worked in the fields. Nose ornaments were primarily of gold because of the purity of the material. Purity of the metal prevented infection. The gentle pressure of the jewel in the nostril, sometimes both on the left side, the right side, as well as in the middle, was believed to enhance fertility. The nose was only pierced, in fact, when the girl child attained puberty, very rarely as a very young child. The range and variety of ornaments for the head in India is vast. The head was the seat of all consciousness and the spiritual fulcrum of the body, mind, and intellect. Head jewels was believed to regulate spiritual energy. Men tucked, as we saw in the earlier slide, jeweled confections of gemstones into their turbans, while women adorned their head as well as the long braid with beautiful hair ornaments. And you will see a collection of hair ornaments in the exhibition, while the bottom two, known as the pasha or jhala, and on the right, the tika, are in the exhibition, set with pearls, diamonds, and emeralds. Armbands were worn again around a vital energy point in the body. It was very important what material. So jade, which had very strong prophylactic properties associated with it. Both of these are from the Mughal Empire, from the Mughal period, from the 16th and 17th century, and was a popular material that was used for the manufacture of armbands. And just the variety of shapes, sizes, designs, and forms is extraordinary in India. And you'll see the magnificent V-shaped armband in the exhibition. Wrist ornaments, all in the exhibition. I only want to draw your attention to one example, one that is in the middle, that is in the exhibition. Again, we go back to see whether, what you see on sculptures, is it real or a figment of the artist's imagination? And if you look at the areas I have circled in red in the sculpture from the 1st century BCE from Chandraketugarh, they so closely relate to the example on the left side, and you'll see it in the exhibition, just to show you the continuity of forms across 2,000 years. All we have to do, all we all have to do is look closely and make these connections. This is another magnificent piece in the exhibition that I want to talk to you all briefly about. It's known as the Veera Shankala bangle. It's from Kerala. Veera Shankala translates into bangle of heroic achievements. Such bracelets, it's from Kerala. They were gifted by the king in recognition of a heroic achievement, victory in battle, a great poet, somebody who performed great service to the king. So it is a mark of the esteemed position of that person in society, a recognition from the king. Do take a close look at it. Waist ornaments served a dual purpose. It held the lower garment in place and embellished the female form. But importantly, it was worn around the navel, an important source of life for a baby connected to the mother's womb by the umbilical cord. The belt is believed to protect, stimulate, and hold the body in equilibrium. Two fabulous examples in the exhibition. Now, in conclusion, the drama of socialization enacted by jewelry is inherent to the body in India. In its most simplistic role, the jewels make the body complete and attractive. However, in the larger context of human life, gems and jewels were bulwarks against the vicissitudes of droughts and floods and wars and invasions. Jewels were security. They protected, they repelled evil, they attracted good. Jewels beautified, they proclaimed wealth, signified marriage, symbolized power. Ultimately, and most importantly, jewels transform sacred to temporal, human to divine. To be devoid of ornamentation is to be invisible and unprotected. Adornment is a way of life in India. Birth to death, jewels form an essential part of samskaras, or rite of passage in rituals. Marriage, pregnancy, the birth of a child, initiation into learning, every event is commemorated by a piece of jewelry. Gems and jewels were security. They protected. And ultimately, it was important that everybody had to be adorned with a piece of jewelry. And even today in India, when a person dies, a piece of gold or silver is placed on the body, on that body. It's believed that that piece of gold and silver is important to pay the boatman across the river that would transport the soul from this world to the next world. So gold is the very DNA of India. It is estimated that more than 24,000 tons of gold is held privately in India. So while some might view the Indian love for gold as an obsession, the Baba on the screen in front of you suggests that, yes, it is an obsession. But in reality, gold is the soul of millions. And as my last slide, I want to share with you all, gold is a symbol of fire, it is a symbol of sun. It is performed, we perform rituals at our home every night. We light the lamp, it is a symbol, place a piece of gold in our prayers. And the fire god, when you see the goddess Ganga, on the banks of the river Ganges, known as Ganga Aarti, the media priest, the golden lamps and the golden flames acquire the power of the deity, transporting the soul from this world to the next world. The media, please. So that's golden lamps, the golden fire, offering oblation to the most sacred river, the river Ganga. Thank you all.